Shalom and welcome to another installment of Elders of GMS, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Today's topic is going to be entitled Topics of Importance. Basically, this is going to be an open forum, if you will, and we're just going to, touch on a lot of different topics. There's been a big controversy on the calendar and the Sabbath day, the lunar Sabbath and the solar Sabbath, and the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar and the Hebrew calendar and the solar calendar. But anyway, that first article that I gave you, go to that, and that speaks of the Roman calendar. I believe prior to the Julian calendar, because before Julian, which was the first Julius, which was the first emperor, Caesar of Rome, and the word Caesar come from his name itself. So the name Caesar became a title. It was another name for emperor of Rome that was elected by the Senate. But anyway, prior to his calendar, and even during his calendar, was you had an 8-day week. So how in the hell can you go count 7 days, 7-day count, 6 days, and the 7 days of Sabbath? And now when you got an 8-day week inside of a month, pursuant to the Julian calendar, and prior to the Julian calendar, I mean, that messes up your whole argument, Nate, and whoever else is teaching that. Okay, remember, GMS has 100% knowledge.
That's right.
The Most High set us up to be the vanguard. Okay?
Yeah.
And you can get mad all you want, but the Most High gave us this information.
That's right.
All right, so go ahead and read that. And there's a calendar. If you go to pictures, you know what? Hold the mic.
Yeah, that's right. So basically that destroys your argument, because if you have an 8-day week, then it adds an extra day every week. So you have for a month, a 4-week month, you have 32 days. Even with the 31 days they're going off on that. So I mean, basically, you don't know what day of the week it really is. You don't really know what year it really is. That's why the seasons seem like they're all mixed up. One day it's cold, the next day is hot. One day it's raining, next day it's snowing. Yeah, right. Yep, that's right. Psalms 82:5. The course. Matter of fact, let me get there real quick.
Yeah, this ain't the Beatles, man. 8 days a week.
8 days a week. Yeah, this is Psalms 82 and 5. It says, "They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course." And that's why everybody's walking in darkness, because, the majority of people out there anyway, we're not walking in darkness pursuant to the scriptures, and the elect out there not walking in darkness. Because pursuant to this, it says all the foundations of the earth are out of course, meaning everything that you see is tampered with, is damaged. It's not in its proper order. So going back with this calendar thing, when that calendar was set up, it was all out of whack. That's what they called 46 BC, the year of confusion for the calendar. Because the calendar was all messed up. And you guys are trusting in these devils for to tell you when the Sabbath comes in. And when you go back, I mean, there's a whole history of different scenarios of different nations that have different days of the week within their calendar. The Egyptians had 10 days.
Yet they claim they hate the white man. They claim they hate the so-called white man. Yet you swear by everything he says.
That's right.
And then it tells you in the book of Jeremiah 6:16, we're supposed to go back to the old ways. You niggas don't want to go back to the old ways, man.
You had that article?
Oh yeah, Khan. This is from Wikia, entitled Calendar Wiki. 8 days a week, simple calendar. Yeah, it brings to mind that song. The 8 days a week calendar. By the way, I bet you, the majority of you guys out there, I bet you don't even know what the word calendar means. Guaranteed. Because you don't research. The 8 days a week calendar features an 8-day week consisting of 3 days, consisting of 3-day weekends and a 5-day work week. Did not the Lord
love
say?
To have that 3-day weekends?
Yeah. Did not the Lord say 6 days shall thou labor, and the 7th day is a rest day unto you? The 12 months in the Gregorian calendar would remain unchanged. A new day called New Day would be added between Saturday and Sunday. This will give 45.6 553,125 weeks per year. And
which knocks the moon's totally off.
And CA 228 working days compared to CA 260 working days now. 228 working days at 8 hours, and at 8 hours is 1,824 hours a year. 260 working days at 7 hours is 1,820 hours a year. This would give us CA 137 weekend days compared to about 104 in the Gregorian. Before the introduction of the Judeo-Christian 7-day week, the Roman markets were cycled in 8-day weeks with 1 day off per week. 8-day weeks. Now, if you go back to the Egyptians, right? The Egyptians had a 10-day week. You know, you got this guy Sarnetta. He's got this hard-on for Egypt. Well, the Egyptians, they had 10-day weeks. Show you how bright they were. Now, all you have to do is go back to the law, man. The Lord said 6 days shall thou labor, 7 days is a rest day. So it's actuality, it's 7 days, man. Not no 8 days, not no 10 days. It's 7 days. And then reading on in the same source of information, says 8 days per week, and I guess they named the days Revi. You'll see it. You'll see the list. All right. Months or year are not changed. Religious holidays can still be calculated based on its old rules. Days of week or days of work, week, have same name. And there's also something else called Roman Fasti. And Fasti,
which means festivals.
Right, which means festival, like the elder said. Now, again, you'll see it when you count the days. It's 8 days, and that's the proof. Because this is an actual from the Roman Empire. What are you about to see? A document. There you go, an actual document from the Roman Empire. You'll see it says A, B, C, which are the different days. The A day, the B day, the C day, D, E, F, G, H. Then it
H is the eighth letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
So that signifies an 8 day. That's an 8-day week.
Yeah.
So you can't go back to when the Lord was crucified and when he was put in the tomb, and then following after 3 days they came. It was the first day of the week, which was a Sunday. The Roman calendar was all messed up, and that only proves that the Israelites, our people, they had a different calendar, man.
Yeah, the lunar. Yep.
They didn't follow. They had to go by the. They were aware of the Roman calendar, just like we are aware of the Gregorian calendar that we use every day. And you set your dates based on what you got to do. If you say we're going to have the Passover on April 12th, but when you the new moon, it's really like 2 days before April, I believe. That's when the new moon came in. I think it was March. Was it March 28th? if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I can go to a calendar and look at it. But when you advertise the Passover to the people, what you're going to do is you're going to say it's going to be on April 12th or April 14th. But you let them know that the new moon came in a couple of days before the month of April.
Yeah.
And we just going over this, again and again for the people, the elect. We're just doing it for the elect. We're not doing it for you guys, all right?
Yeah, you scoffers.
We're not trying to get you guys to get it because you ain't going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
But it says here, this book here, and I'm going to try to go into this book, is called The New International Dictionary of Biblical Archaeology. This sounds like a book that Yeshai would have. Look, don't try to get this book. You can't. You got to be a congressman to get this book.
Yeah. Right.
But anyway, may the Lord be with you if you can get this book. If you search it out, you'll get it. It says calendar. Originally, the Hebrews had no means of accurate calendrical determination, marking the passing of time only by reference to lunar or solar months.
There you go.
Because the solar determines the day. When the sun goes down, and when the sun goes down, that's the end of a day. Then you have a cycle of day where the moon goes up, high noon, and then it goes back down. That's the ending of another day. That's how you know from one day to the next day, right? That's why we say the Sabbath comes in at sundown, when the sun's going down. We don't determine the Sabbath or the days of the week by the moon. We determine it by the sun, when the sun goes down. All right? It says by reference to lunar or solar months or to the seasons of the year. In patriarchal times, the year may have been reckoned from the spring, but after the Amarna age, it seems to have commenced in the autumn with the 7th month. Because the 7th month, according to us, the memorial of blowing the trumpets, the what do you call that? The Day of Atonement and so forth, the Feast of Tabernacle, that comes in the autumn. Okay? So go ahead. That's all I wanted to say on that.
Yeah, and you'll see even the lunar map or the lunar calendar they have, even they go off because they add the 29th and 30th day. First of all, there is no 30th day.
Well,
okay.
Correct you, Ak?
Yeah.
Technically it's 29.53 days.
Right.
But based on when the moon lines up, the new moon, you can technically say it's 30. That's why when you look at a map, if you take a regular map, you can take a regular Gregorian map, and you can make it into a lunar map. I mean a lunar calendar. Excuse me. All you got to do is you take that regular map, you have a starting point, and you find out where all the new moons are, and then you say, well, this is 1 month, that's 2 months, and when you line those 12 months up, half of them is going to come in, going to be 29 days long. The other half is going to be 30 days long. But in reality, it's going to be 29.5, a little bit more than 29.5 days long. So some months are going to register as 30 days because it's going to fall at that time period. So they are kind of right. That's why you can't go by the Gregorian calendar. That's why you got to go by them new moons. Yeah. If you try to fit 12 perfect new moons in the Gregorian calendar, you're going to be off, man. Every year, when you have that Passover, every year that goes by, you're going to have to go back 11 days. So if you follow the moons accordingly, you are going to have your Passovers in February. And that's it. That's why you got to sit down and do the study, man. That's why you got to watch the GMS elders of GMS videos. Oh, and let me say this. How you guys, how you brothers doing on that test? Because you got 3 more weeks. All right?
I got a quick precept. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 5, verse 15. Be not ignorant in anything. I'm sorry. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. You know, so basically you're supposed to know these things. You know, because this is a science that we're getting back from the ancient world.
Yeah, we're going back to the old ways. Yeah, in the book of Jeremiah 6 and 16, it says this. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways, and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." And the example of that is the fact that the information of the lunar calendar is coming out. A lot of you guys got a problem with it, mainly because we're saying it, mainly because Great Millstone is saying it. You got a problem with it, you know. But like I've been doing some looking at that calendar, and I was just going by what the Most High said with you know, with like the what is it, the 7 days. And if you time, it's supposed to be 4 weeks in a month. If you time it by 7, that's 28 days. I could see going into the 29, but they got like the 30 here, and you know, that's where I kind of have a little problem with that. But hey, we're studying it, we're going through it, and you know, through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, it's going to be totally rectified. You know, it's going to be, because you know that's the thing. You know, that's another thing. Back in the even with the 12, they had heated debates, man. You know, sometimes things have to be hashed out. You have to go through it and check it out, and go through it and check it out. You know, they did that during the time of the disciples. You know, the 12 disciples. So you know, that's why the scripture says, "Study to show thyself approved." There's never a time when you stop studying. You're always studying. You're always looking into things. You know. And you're always trying to tweak it. You're always trying to get it right, get it perfect. The scriptures say, Matthew 5 and 48, it says, "Be ye perfect, even as your Father is perfect." So we're always trying to strive for perfection in this knowledge, you know. And we're not going to be like Nate and wing it, you know. Nate is known as the wing master. We're not going to be winging shit up in here, you know.
I got a quick precept.
Yep.
This is Job chapter 8. Verse 8, "For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. For we are but of yesterday, and know nothing, because our days upon earth are a shadow. Shall not they teach thee, and tell thee, and utter words out of their heart?" Yeah, so when you go through the scriptures, and you go through some of the history and different things of the scriptures, you know, you find out that the moon, the month is named after the moon. The month starts with the new moon, the new Sabbath, you know, and that's really what, because when you go back to the book of Genesis, that's what dictates how to set up your time. You know, matter of fact, in Ecclesiasticus 43 and 6, it says, "He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times."
But that was changed. Now around what was it, 330 AD?
Yep.
Under Hillel?
Yep.
They did away with the proclamation of the new moon.
Come.
The new moon was a serious feast.
Yeah.
There was an actual trumpet that was blown, and it was announced that this day is the new moon.
That's right.
Now that practice was done away with Hillel around 330 AD.
Yep.
Okay? And then I got the scripture here, Daniel 7 and 25. It says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High," which were worn out. All right? "And think to change times and laws." And one of the things he changed was the way that time is calculated. Esau brought it back to the sun when it's supposed to go back to the moon. All right? This Gregorian calendar is based upon the sun. All right? It's supposed to be based upon the moon. Just like the brother read in the Apocrypha, the Most High appointed the moon to tell the months, which turns into years. All right? And I was looking at that word change. The word change in the blue letter is shabar, and it says to be altered.
To break, shabar.
Which is break, right? To be changed, transform, frustrate. Now wait a minute. A lot of those when they were setting up those calendars, a lot of those guys were frustrated. That's why they kept one calendar back in 1582. I forgot, was that Pope Gregory? Yeah, he dropped 11 days out of 1 month. Yeah. Now, why did he just drop 11 days? Because he was frustrated. They're trying to get it back to the seasons, and they couldn't do it, so they got frustrated. So they just drop 11 days.
Yeah, well, the dropping of 11 days each year that you have your go by your Gregorian calendar. In order to, how can I say, line it up correctly with the Hebrew calendar, you would have to drop exactly 11 days. All right? So, I mean, this is something that you got to study, man.
Con.
And the Most High, Yahweh Shem Shai, has to guide you, and it's a work in progress, man.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Because you guys, you know what it is you're lazy minded. You like things just to be handed to you, because you don't want to think. So you figure if we just keep it on a Saturday according to the calendar that we have today is every 7 days. So that's what you go by because it's easy. There's no work involved in that. But then if you drop the 11 days, that's going to throw the whole week process off. And then when you go back to the Roman calendar before it became the Julian calendar, there were 8 days in there. So that whole cycle of the calendar is completely off.
It's completely off, man.
But why would you listen to a guy named Nate? And I wasn't planning on getting on Nate, but guess what? He's still teaching that the ancient beast, the Roman Empire, that Russia is one of the heads.
Yeah.
So I mean, come on, brother, that's 1992 stuff, man.
Yeah.
Russia wasn't even heard of until like the 900 AD period. So where'd you get Russia from, my man?
Speaking of Russia, doing research, we found out that the Russians didn't want to accept the Gregorian calendar until the 20th century. Because them Russians, they're tough-minded people, man. Well, you'd have to have a tough mind. We know Baloo. We know you ain't no Russian, man. Because you would have to have a tough mind to live up there in Russia. That's just tough. Yeah, exactly. So we know you ain't Russian, Baloo. All right? As a matter of fact, you'll see it. I have a document of the month of October in the year 1582 under Pope Gregory the 13th, I believe. And you'll see the month. It says Monday the first day, Tuesday the second day, Wednesday the third day, Thursday the fourth day, Friday the 15th day. What the hell happened to those 11 days? Well, they just disappeared. That is a work of frustration. Just like it says in the prophecy. If we go back to the prophecy, because the scriptures don't lie. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. We know who the he is. We know that's talking about the so-called white man. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High and think to change times and laws. Isn't that what they just did? All right? And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So he'll have a period of time to destroy everything. That includes time calculation till the Most High set it back the right way it's supposed to be set back. That's why in Isaiah it says, surely a turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. Why? Because it's going to be turned right side up. And the Lord is going to use us to do it. All right? The Lord is going to use us to do it. You're seeing that prophecy happening right before your eyes. You're turning the things upside down. Hey, because this devil, man, this so-called white man, he turned everything, I mean everything, upside down.
That's right.
All right? And that, like the brother said, we don't know what year we're in.
Yep.
We don't know what season we're in. You know? And you can thank this devil, man. Here it is right here, Isaiah 29:16. Surely you're turning the things upside down. Who's the you're? The so-called white man. Shall be esteemed as the potter's clay, which is worth nothing. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not, and shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he have no understanding. So basically the Most High set you so-called white people up to destroy everything. All right? That's your lot. All right? You're the harbinger of destruction. You're the master of disaster. You so-called white people, man. You know, you're the master of disaster. You're the harbinger of death. Wherever you go, you bring death. Wherever you go, you bring destruction. That's you. That's your lot. You know? And our lot is to bring to life what you have destroyed, man. And that started with Yahushai. And hopefully we're coming in Yahushai's stead, and we're going to do the same thing that Yahushai did over 2,000 years ago. That was the beginning of your end of your kingdom, you so-called white people, when Yahushai came on the scene 2,000 years ago.
I got a quick precept.
Yep. Sure.
This is well, matter of fact, the scripture you just read, when you look up that word where it says, surely you're turning of things upside down, the Hebrew word there is hapak, which means perverseness, perversity, perverseness, folly. Because basically what you did was you changed it.
Yeah, 8 days a week. I mean, it makes for a crappy Beatles song, but it's folly, man. Even back when the Beatles released that, they hated that shit. Even they said that, man. that ain't music, you know. But it's folly, all right? 8 days a week. It's folly. There is no 8 days a week. The Lord said 6. As a matter of fact, hey, brother, if you want to say something, I'm going to get that scripture.
Yeah, so that's basically what they did. They switched, they changed things up. Now, when you go to and it's with everything that this devil does. It's not just the calendars, with everything they do. The laws of the Most High, the land Sabbaths, you know, the same-sex marriage and all that crap. This is Isaiah 19:14. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. That's where you can't get nothing right, because everything is out of course. Everything is perverse. Now, when you look up that word perverse, this is heavy, because when you look up that word perverse, it's from the Hebrew word aywa ayam, right? Aywa ayam, and it says distorting, perverting, warping.
What's an example of that? That 8 day a week.
Yeah,
in relation to our lesson that we're giving you today is the 8 day week, man. That's folly. That's perverseness. You know what makes it even more so? I have the scripture right here. Exodus 20:9. It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And you devils can't even keep the Sabbath day right, because you don't even know when the Sabbath day comes in. There's a site that says the Sabbath day is all wrong, pertaining to you so-called Jews. Anyway, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. Now, where the hell do you see the 8th day here? This is in the book of Exodus 20:9-10. All right? So you devils are perverse, man. And I got another scripture. This is Isaiah 26:10. It says, let favor be showed to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. Part of the majesty of the Lord is time calculation. What did the Lord set up to measure time? The moon. But you devils don't behold that. You know? Your Gregorian calendar, which you basically set up, that goes back to the sun. You know? That's not the right way to measure time. Because in the Apocrypha it says that the Lord set up the moon to measure seasons.
Yeah. Now we want to change. That's enough on that topic. Now going to the next topic. We want to show you that the Roman Empire, that Russia was not a part of the Roman Empire, as Where can we go? Where can we go, brother? Revelation 13, Revelation, which, yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. Go to Revelation 12. And anywhere it speaks about the 7 heads and 10 horns.
This is the book of Revelation 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy.
Yeah, those 7 heads. I'm not talking about. That's that old 1992 bullshit, man, from One West. And they ain't talking about the Greeks. How they do it. The Greeks, the Romans, the Spanish, the French, the Germans, the Russians, and the British. And out of Britain came America. It ain't talking about that, man. So how deep are you, Nate? Like I said, I wasn't thinking about you, Nate, but your name seems to always come up. When you chart out that those heads, Russia's not a part of that at all. Although as you read down until you defeated the bear, the bear as a Russian, that's going to take you down. That's going to be, but that's not part of the original beast or the Roman Empire, and it's not part of NATO today. Okay? Because I want to read something. It says here Roman Empire, right? It says the land around the Mediterranean Sea and in Europe ruled by Rome, while events recorded in the books of the Old Testament took place prior to the emergence of Rome as the sole power. Because when you go back to the period of the Maccabees, you see the influence of Rome, and they had a lot of power. They were up and coming power that people kind of was reluctant to fighting. They wasn't in their full power yet, but they were coming up in the power. As a matter of fact, if you understand the breakdown of Daniel, the 11th chapter, you'll understand, going to that history, you would understand that Antiochus Epiphanes was given hostage to Rome as a how can I say it, as collateral for his father, which I believe that was Antiochus III, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And he was, I believe it was 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. And he knew the power of Rome because he was there. He was captive. I mean, they fed him, they took care of him, but basically he was a captive under them. All right. So I mean, you got to, in order for you to know the scriptures, you got to know history. All right. It says, while events recorded in the books of the Old Testament took place prior to the emergence of Rome, its power as the sole power, because there was a point where Rome became the sole power in the Mediterranean basin. Rome's influence was already strong at the time of the Maccabean revolt, and I just said that. Beginning in 167 BC. And from that point until Rome assumed control over Palestine in 63 BC, all right, its power influence events throughout the eastern Mediterranean world. The spread of that influence had begun much earlier, all right?
This is you can see this is the map of the Roman Empire at its height.
That's wherever the red is, right?
Yeah, all red, and that's all in the European, and it excludes Russia. You know, matter of fact, I just bring it up real quick to the camera and show on the camera. And this is basically at the height, as you can see in red. That's at the height of the Roman Empire. That was what they conquered. And if you see north of that, that's where you have Russia at, where the Caspian Sea is, the Black Sea, going straight up there. So they never had a stronghold in Russia, because that was those Germanic tribes that were kicking in Romans.
There was no such thing as Russia. The word Russia didn't, like I said, the word Russia came about later in history.
Yeah.
That's right, because they weren't able to conquer that far. You know, because them as they call them, the Germanic tribes, which really that was the name that Julius Caesar put on them, the Germanic tribes. They were too rough, man. They were too rough for them Romans, so they weren't able to conquer that far. So that's why they just were able to stay within that perimeter.
They were losing whole legions of top military forces, top military men, whole legions, man.
Yeah, and they show you that in movies like Centurion, the Eagle. You know, those are actual generals and events that took place where the Picts, you know, and different other of those so-called Germanic tribes, or barbarians as they call them, gave them Romans hell, man.
That's why you should watch movies on the History Channel and watch documentaries and movies on the Roman Empire, because the majority of those the movies based upon the Roman Empire, those period pieces, they didn't just make it up. They're actual events.
2,000 years ago.
You know?
In the land surrounding
Yeah,
the
that's how they're able to get the garb, you know,
Vast
the
empire.
right dress, the right
Roman
sandals, you know, because you had different wear for different ones. You know, you had the count, you had the senators, they wore like a toga, certain things.
Magnificent
Then you had the
buildings.
Praetorian guards, they wore, you know,
And
a
riches
certain
of every
dress, you know, they had a dress code. And then you can distinguish between a centurion
Rich
and just a
emperors
guy that
lived
was
in
just a soldier.
palaces.
You know, there was certain
And beggars
marks, you
lived
know,
on
in
the
certain
street.
way that they would wear their clothing. And that's why
Long
they're able to
roads
get all that
connected all the cities of the
information, because they it's in the records
all
and they
roads
study
led
it,
to
and
the
then that's how they're able to make movies
The
and
grandest
make it
city
seem
in
like
the
you
world.
back in the Roman Empire.
All roads led to Rome.
Yeah.
So let's step back in time.
Now, this is
to
according
see
to
what life was
Wikipedia.
like in that ancient
It says
city.
the modern name of Russia, Rossiya,
A day spent in ancient
which
Rome
came into
would be a
use
very
in the
full day,
17th century,
and it would start at sunrise.
which means the 1800s.
In these days before electric
Yeah, but the
lights,
first
it was
mention
necessary
of
to
that
get
was
everything
Rush.
done while the
A
sun was
Rus.
shining.
Rus, yeah, it says
Rush.
that.
It goes
That
back
meant
to like
getting an early
800,
start to
900
every
AD.
day.
Khan. Yeah, but it says
Since the weather in
one
Rome
of the
was
earliest
warm
written
most of the
sources
year,
mentioning the people
since they were out
called
when the warm
Rus
sun was shining,
dates back
Romans wore
to
garments called tunics.
dates back to year 839 AD. In a royal Frankish chronicle, Annales Betiani. Let's see.
Yeah, and then when you read about them 7 heads, those 7 heads have an alliance. They have a common a thing that's holding them together. Russia never was a part of that, ever. Even now they're trying to have they used to have what, the G8, now it's back to G7. Why? Because they kicked Russia out. You know, because the way the Most High set it up, he set up Russia to be a friction, a thorn in the side of these other Edomites, because that's going to be what's going to take America and certain things, certain strongholds of NATO down. You know, so them 7 heads have that alliance. That's what the Lord said. He's going to take Russia and put hooks into Russia's jaw and turn them back. You know, so the Roman Empire never had Russia as a part of them. Now, this is our First Maccabees chapter 8, verse 1. This is going back to the beginning of the Roman Empire, because when the Maccabees were on the scene, that was the beginning of the when the Maccabees were on the scene, and Antiochus Epiphanes was putting hell on them, on the Israelites back then. The Roman armies were just starting to gain strongholds. They were coming up as a young military might, and they were a force to be reckoned with. Why? Because the Lord, in prophecy, the Lord was bringing them up to be the next major power. And this goes back to around 167, 168 AD in that time frame. So this is our First Maccabees 8 and 1. Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans, that they were mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all that join themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them, and that they were men of great valor. It was told him also of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute, and what they had done in the country of Spain for the winning of the mines of the silver and gold which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were very far from them, and the kings also that came against them from the uttermost the earth, till they had discomfited them and given them a great overthrow, so that the rest did give them tribute every year. Besides this, how they had discomfited in battle Philip and Perseus, king of Kittim, which others that lifted up themselves against them and had overcome them. Because when Rome conquered, if you look at the Mediterranean Sea, that's the main area that they conquered all around. If you look at northern Russia, northern Russia, got Russia on the brain. Northern Africa, the Middle East, over here, Jerusalem, Palestine, Syria, coming up into so-called Turkey today, and around through Greece and all that area there, all the way up to Spain, France, and all that. Those lands around the Mediterranean Sea, that's what the Romans conquered, because commerce was where you make money. If you controlled the ports or that land, you controlled pretty much everything else that went on. So that was one of the main things that they conquered, was that whole open land around the Mediterranean Sea, and that's why that's their what they conquered. All right, now jumping down to verse 14, it says, "Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby." And this is the reason why the scriptures say that when the Roman Empire, which was the fourth beast, was in power, they were going to be different from the other beasts, because the Romans had leaders. You had the emperors, or you had the Caesars, but they didn't rule as kings, because their policy was different, true to prophecy. That's why when Julius Caesar tried to basically take like a kingship position, what did they do? They killed him. They assassinated him, because they wanted to rule differently than all them other monarchies at the time, because that's how a country was ruled, was by kings.
Well, that's prophecy. Go to Daniel 7 and go right to it.
Come on. This is Daniel. I'm sorry, what was that, Elder Gabor?
No, you said the Senate.
The
You're
Senate.
referring to the Senate, right? Yeah.
Yep. So you had different, it was a different type of rule. This is Daniel chapter 7 and 7. "After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly." Now when Daniel seen this, he didn't really understand what this meant. He actually saw an actual beast. But then the angel, as you read on down, the angel was breaking it down to him what that actually meant. It says, "And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it." Why? Because when the Romans ruled, they were a force to be reckoned with. No one could stand in their way, because the Lord allowed them to do this.
And that's also known as divide and conquer. They set up provinces, so that's why you had governors.
That's right. It says, "And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." And how was it diverse? In the manner and how they ruled. Because they ruled what? As not as kings, but you had Caesars, which today would be known as a president. Caesars. You had the Tsar. But they were like in the kingly position. Those are all the same. Kaiser. Those are all the same words for Caesar. But basically they ruled. They had one man that was the head of everything, but he wasn't ruling like a king or a monarch. That's how they were diverse. Okay, jumping back, I'm gonna come back to that. Jumping back to First Maccabees 8 and 14. "Yet for all this, none of them wore a crown or was clothed in purple to be magnified thereby. Moreover, how they had made for themselves a senate house, wherein 320 men sat in council daily, consulting always for the people, to the end they might be well ordered. And that they committed their government to one man every year, who ruled over all their country, and that all were obedient to that one, and that there was neither envy nor emulation among them."
Yeah, I got something to back up the conversation that we in right now. This is Second Ezra, the 12th chapter, which we're going into the test. So, the spirit, your focus got to be on that Second Ezra, the 11th chapter, and the 12th chapter. But this is what Nate said in one of his videos about maybe a year and a half ago, which I got into a heated debate with a son over because they call themselves breaking it down. I said, well, look, if you can break that verse down, then you can break this verse down. But here it is. 2nd Ezra 12, 10 and 11. It says, hold up. 11 and 12, I believe. It says, the eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is a kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. Let me read it again. The eagle whom thou saw. Now you come across the word eagle, and what come to your mind? America, right? It ain't talking about America, my man. It ain't talking about America. Okay? I'm gonna read it again. The eagle whom thou sawest, the eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea is a kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel. 12. But it was not expounded unto him. Therefore now I declare it unto thee. Now, 13. Let me go to 13. Behold, the days will come that there shall arise up a kingdom upon earth, and it shall be feared above all the kingdoms that were before it.
2,000 years ago.
And the same
in the land surrounding the Mediterranean
and the same
Sea,
shall 12
there was a
kings
vast
reign,
empire,
one after
the Roman
another.
Empire.
It's not talking about Nate.
In this empire,
Nate,
grand
please,
cities,
brother, start watching our videos so you can learn something.
magnificent buildings, and riches of every kind.
It's talking about the Roman Empire, my man.
Rich
And it's not even
emperors
talking
and
about
palaces,
the expanse of the
and
Roman
beggars
Empire,
lived on the street.
because there were far more than
roads
12
connected all the cities of the empire.
Caesars or
And
12
all
kings.
roads led to the capital,
There were far more than
the
that.
grandest city in the world.
So
all
you
roads
look
led
at the
to
word eagle, and right away you think
So
about
let's step
America.
back in time
You're going
to
off.
See what life was like.
You know what I'm
in that
saying?
ancient city.
Yeah, he hears that Ray Charles song in his head. For
They spent
beautiful.
in ancient Rome to be a very full day,
The symbol of America, which is
and
the
it would
bald
start at
eagle.
sunrise.
I got.
Well, yeah, you made the
These
statement.
days before
Yeah.
electric
The symbol
lights,
of America is
it
a
was
bald
necessary
eagle.
to get everything done
But
while
where'd
the
they
sun
get
was
that
shining.
symbol from? They got
That's
it from Rome.
That's right.
That
I got
meant
it.
getting
That's
up
why
early
when you
every day.
study law, you have to learn
Since the weather in Rome was
classic
warm most of the
Latin
year, and since they were
from the
out,
Roman
the warm sun was
classic
shining.
Latin.
Romans
Okay.
wore garments called
If you
tunics
want to
that
learn
left
medicine,
their
you
legs
have to know Latin.
bare. Most Romans
Okay.
had only one outfit.
Hell,
that
if you
they
want to
wore every
know
day.
the English language, you got to know the majority of the English language goes back to
The wealthy,
Latin.
on the other hand,
the
Yeah.
alphabets
were draping pieces
are,
of
ro-
fabric
are Roman
called togas over the
are
tunics.
Roman characters.
The most important Roman citizens
All right.
Yeah.
wore togas with
So you come
gold
across the
and
word
beautiful
eagle, and all of a sudden you think
Make
about
them stand
America.
out
No,
in the crowd.
Rome had the
Finishing
eagle
off
before
the Roman
America
outfit
came on the
were
scene.
Sandals made of leather.
Yeah, I got some
Not too
information on that.
different
This
from
is
the shoes of today.
again from Wikipedia under eagle
Roman hoods were
heraldry.
variations on
It
familiar
says the
concepts
eagle
as
with
well.
its keen eyes symbolize
Very few people
per-
had houses of their own.
perspicacity,
Those who did lived in houses that were
perspicacity,
built around beautiful courtyards
perspicacity,
that may have even had
courage.
When you study, you come across words that you don't deal with every day,
Most people,
Yeah, that's
however,
right.
and that's
lived in
why we
small apartment buildings
stammer upon
that
these
were made
words.
mostly of wood.
Yeah.
For fear of fire, residents-
Perspicacity, courage, strength, and immortality. But it is also considered king of the skies, and messenger of the highest gods. I believe what was that Juno? His favorite companion was the eagle.
2,000 years ago,
Zeus.
in the
yeah,
land
which was-
surrounding the
Well,
Mediterranean
Zeus was the eagle.
there was a
okay.
vast empire.
Zeus came down in the form of an eagle.
Oh, okay.
He also came down in the form of a bull.
Oh,
All right,
okay.
he came down. You got to know it,
This
brother.
Yeah, that's right.
grand
That's right.
cities.
It says, but it's also considered king of the skies and messenger of the highest gods. With these attributed qualities, the eagle
Rich emperors lived
became
in
a symbol of
palaces,
power and strength in
and
ancient
beggars
Rome,
lived on the street.
and that's why ancient Rome had the
Long
symbol of the
roads
eagle.
connected all the cities of the empire.
Mythologically,
And all roads led to the capital.
mythologically,
The grandest city in the world.
it has been connected
All
by the
roads led to
Greeks
Rome.
with the god Zeus,
So let's step back
by the
and
Romans with
see what
Jupiter,
life was like in
by the
ancient
Germanic tribes. There's your Germania Major and your Germania
A day spent
Minor,
in
which
ancient
was
Rome
responsible
would
for
be a
taking
very
down
full
Rome,
day.
which you're supposed to know that,
Start
Nate.
at sunrise.
As a matter of fact, the very
These
opening
days
of the
before
movie,
electric lights,
what is that, with
it was
Russell Crowe?
necessary to get everything
The
done
scene
while
where
the
they're
sun
about
was
to go to
shining.
battle? Yeah, Gladiator.
That meant getting a
Do you
drill
know who they're
started every
fighting?
day.
Russell Crowe represents the Romans, and they were fighting the
Since weather
Germanic
in Rome
tribes.
was warm most of the
They
year,
weren't fighting Russia, Nate.
since they were out when the warm sun was shining,
By the Germanic tribes,
that left their legs bare.
you
Most
lanky,
Romans had only one outfit.
lanky con man.
Because stop getting personal, brother. Don't be getting personal on him, man. Because he's just a lost soul. We're trying to wake up.
With the wry smile of a con man.
Called togas over their tunics.
Hey, we're gonna stick it to you, man. I'm sorry, man. We're gonna stick it to you, man. By the Germanic tribes with Odin,
To make them stand out,
by the Judeo-Christian scriptures,
were sandals made
Odin was black.
not too different from the shoes of
Jupiter was black, which is a Roman form of Zeus,
Roman
and
homes
Zeus
with variations unfamiliar
was born out of the Greek mythology. Was also a
people
black
had
man.
houses of their own.
Okay,
oh,
In
Yeah.
the Vatican,
Lived
that
in
thing
houses
that's
that were
sitting
built
in
around
the
beautiful courtyards
in St.
that
Peter's
made
Square,
heaven
that's
and swimming
Jupiter.
pools.
that's Jupiter, yeah.
You know,
Whom Comfy thought it was Peter.
Most people
That's another fucking
small
moron.
apartment buildings that were
Who?
mostly
Comfy who? This guy thought it was Peter. Hey, Nate. See, it wasn't just America that owned the eagle. You learning the Greeks had it. The Romans had it. The Germanic tribes, of which there's the Germania Major, Major and Germania Minor, with Odin, and by the Judeo-Christian scriptures, with those who hope in God. Isaiah 40 and 31, which Isaiah 40 and 31 is just a symbolic of the Lord is going to raise us up with power like an eagle. We didn't worship the eagle like these other places did. And in Christian art with St. John the Evangelist. Yeah, that's it on that. Well, no, it says under symbolism, it says the eagle as a symbol has a history much larger than that of heraldry itself. In ancient Egypt, the falcon was the symbol of Horus, and in Roman polytheism of Jupiter. So the eagle has a lot of history surrounding it, Nate. Okay, it ain't just America, Nate.
that's right.
Need to
And then-
broaden your horizon, my man.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And then you had like Spain also carried the eagle. They had that on their coat of arms. You know, you had them France. You know, other of these Edomite nations, which make up the seven heads, they all carried the eagle. You know, so it was mainly a Roman, a Greco-Roman symbol.
Yeah, you had something called the double-headed eagle, as you'll see
Which
here.
that was a Byzantine Empire symbol.
Yep.
Khan.
Yeah. Double-headed eagle, two-headed eagle. You know, and the reason being because the eagle is a powerful bird. Even the so-called North American Indians worshiped the eagle, which they were going off. But they had something called eagle feathers. Hey, weren't you at one time the big bad Gadite? Nate, you should have known that. Like I said, we're going to stick it to you whenever we get a chance to.
And eagles are filthy, man. They're a filthy bird. The Most High said they're filthy. They carry all type of diseases.
Yep.
You know, and here it is. Gad was playing with them damn feathers, man.
Well, I heard they had to boil the feathers in order to wear them. That's how the legend goes. But still, you know, you're not supposed to be worshiping the eagle. And the reference made in Isaiah 40 and 31, which I'll get right now, is not telling us to worship the eagle, man, like those other kingdoms worship the eagle. It says we're going to have power like an eagle. And I'll read it for you. This is Isaiah 40 and 31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. In other words, we'll be able to fly. All right, that's one of the powers the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai, those of us that are hopefully a part of the elect, will receive. The power of flight. All right? They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Just like an eagle, with all that robust power that an eagle has, we're going to have that power through this power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, those of us who are counted to be the elect. So that's what that means. That doesn't mean we're going to worship the eagle. You know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, so basically, you know, with the topic we're dealing with right now is the Roman Empire. And you know, right now America is the reincarnation of the Roman Empire. Because, you know, when you go back to the history, it said that these 7 heads and 10 horns, that particular beast was going to be wounded for a certain period of time, and then it was going to come back into power. You know, matter of fact, I'll read that real quick. This is in the book of Revelation chapter 13, which we were reading earlier. Revelation chapter 13, and I'll start at 2. It says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard." That represents the beginning of the beast, which is the Greeks. "And his feet were as the feet of a bear," and that represents the end of the beast, which is Russia. "And his mouth as the mouth of a lion," which represents England, because that's where they get their power from. Secretly, really, England is really ruling. It says, "And the dragon, which is the Roman Empire, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as they were wounded to death." Now, what head was this? This was the 6th head, which was the Roman Empire, which was ruling during the time of John. And then when you look at how the Roman Empire fell, you know, there was infightings. You know, they had wars with different nations. You know, their infrastructure was falling apart, their economy was falling apart. You know, and that's what happened. That's eventually what brought Rome down.
Yeah, I got some information for you. This is entitled. It says 8 striking. Now this is dated Wednesday, December 26, 2012. 8 striking parallels between the U.S. and the Roman Empire. All right, so.
And they're always making reference to always paralleling America with Rome. The things that happened to Rome and the way Rome fell with the things that have happened to America right now.
Yeah,
because let you know that this is the Roman Empire all over again.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's basically what's going on. You know? Khan. You know, so basically the bottom line is all you have to do is go back in the history and look at what happened to Rome, how Rome came into power, and how it started to crumble, decline. You know, they got something called the decline of the Roman Empire.
Yeah, well, they got,
you know,
they got some to back you up, brother. Since you're in that thought, they got number 3. It says continuous war, which is one of the things that brought down the Roman Empire. And it says a national state of security arises, distracting attention from domestic challenges with foreign wars, similar to the late Roman Republic. Now the late.
First line is talking about America.
Yeah, this is a.
That's comparing America.
Yeah, this is
You know what we're gonna speak on that today.
Yeah.
Down here.
Again, you brothers will see it. 8 striking.
That's it right there.
Yeah, and it's just 8 of
We
them.
got to save that for later,
Con.
for the new series that we got.
Con.
Elders of GMS on 34th Street.
Again, this
Kicking it live.
is. That's right. Yeah, this is
Kicking
dated
it live and direct.
live and direct. This is dated December
In full
26th. Yeah, that's right. December 26, 2012. And it says 8 striking parallels between the U.S. and the Roman Empire. And it says, is our republic coming to an unceremonious end? We may not be on America's side. History alone tells you America is going to be destroyed. Because the Roman Empire was...
So as you can see, that's a clear comparison between
Clear comparison.
the Roman Empire, the rise, decline, and fall of the Roman Empire,
Yep.
paralleled with the American Empire.
Yeah.
rise, declining, fall. Okay, and I got a scripture here.
Yep.
Now this is going into more history. Now, if you understood and you're gonna see the rest of Daniel the 11 breakdown coming up. Just be patient, and then we're gonna go over the part 4 and part 5 because there's something missing there. And if we lost the file, what we'll do is we'll do a separate show just on that, just to fill in the blanks, so to speak. Okay, but that just shows that you got hungry people out there, and this is food. All right, and give me that in Jeremiah. Feed you. What was that 3 and 7? If I'm not 3:15, I think it is 3:15. Yeah. But before you go into that, I'm gonna read this here. Matter of fact, read it. Go ahead and read it.
This is Jeremiah 3 and 15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
And we're the only ones that are doing it, man. Okay? Now I'm going to read this here. This is Second Maccabees, the 5th chapter. And I'm going to start in the middle of the 11th verse, okay? It says, whereupon removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, this is Antiochus IV, also known as Antiochus Epiphanes. He moved out of Egypt because he was trying to take down the Egyptian ruler, which was one of the Ptolemies. Okay, I believe that was Ptolemy the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. It was either the 5th or the 6th. But anyway, he had basically he was that with this guy Pompeius that put that circled around him, circle in the, I think that was doing it. Yeah, Pompilius, the circle in the sand. I think that's why when he was going either fight the Egyptians or another group of people he wanted to take down, and basically Pompilius drew a circle in the sand and said, "Look, if you go outside this circle, I'm gonna fuck you up." then Antiochus got mad and he went back to to our people and totally destroyed them. Gaius Pompilius Linus. All right. I believe that. Matter of fact, read the account.
It says, in 168 BC, a Roman consul named Gaius Pompilius Linus drew a circular line in the sand around King Antiochus IV of the Seleucid Empire, then said, "Before you cross this circle, I want you to give me a reply for the Roman Senate," implying that Rome would declare war if the king stepped out of the circle without committing to leave Egypt immediately. Weighing his options, Antiochus wisely decided to withdraw. Only then did Pompilius agree to shake hands with him.
Is there more to that?
That was it. No.
Okay. Well, it should tell you further in the history. He got mad at that, and he went back. When he went back to Jerusalem, he called for his men to utterly slaughter the children of Israel. Right, and here's the account right here. Right, I'm gonna read it again. It said, it started at 11, the top. It said, now when that was done is talking about the situation with what's his name? Linnaeus. What's his name? Pompilius Linus. All right. Besides other things, because they were warring factions. They were warring against the Romans, and he was a Roman. He was a Roman general. All right. He was at war, ongoing war from his foreparents with the Ptolemaic dynasty. So you had different empires or different powers coming against one another. So when you went to take down one power, another power might come in the middle of that, man. And that's what happened with this guy Linus, Pompilius Linus, which was a Roman, all right? So, with all that, he was pissed off because he wanted Egypt, and this guy came in. Yep. Egypt was in league with the Romans, and Rome was also in league with the Maccabees. All right. Okay, because you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna jump to the 9th verse. It said, "Thus he that had driven many out of their country perished in a strange land, retiring to the Lacedaemonians, and thinking there to find succor by reason of his kinder." 10th verse. "And he that had cast out many unburied had none to mourn for him, nor any solemn funerals at all, nor sepulchre with his fathers." All right. This is going into that back and forth war. All right. It says, the 11th verse. "Now when this that was done came to the king, which was Antiochus IV, or Antiochus Epiphanes' ear, he thought that Judea had revolted, because while he was trying to take down one kingdom, you had Israel. They were thinking about revolting against this guy, man, or he thought it in his mind. It says, "Whereupon, removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, he took the city by force of arms." 12. "And commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met." In other words, all the Israelites that they saw, whether it was infants, women, just kill them. "And to slay such as went up upon the houses." 13. "Thus there were killing of young and old, making away of men, women, and children, slaying of virgins and infants." So they didn't give a damn, man. 14. It says, "And there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 80,000, which is 80,000, whereof 40,000 were slain in the conflict, and no fewer sold than slain." So there were 40,000 that were slain, and there were 40,000 that were sold in slavery. All right. That's why when you read in the book of Acts, and even in Corinthians, mainly in the book of Acts, you read about the Greeks. You come across the word Greeks, or you come across the word Grecians, or you come across the word Gentiles. You come across the name Cornelius, and you have some Israelite groups out there that say that Cornelius is an Edomite, because that was taught back in 92 or prior to 92. And me, myself, and even Nate had woken up to the fact that Cornelius is an Israelite, but they referred to Cornelius as a Gentile. Matter of fact, give me, do I got it? Go to Acts 11 and 1. Acts 10 goes into the account of Cornelius, right? Now Acts 11 tells you that Cornelius was a Gentile, but we know that Cornelius was an Israelite, because you had Israelites being called Gentiles, and he was one of them. Go ahead.
All right, this is Acts chapter 11, verse 1. "And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles, Israelite foreigners, had also received the word of the Most High."
Read that again.
"And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of the Most High."
They said that's following Acts 10. What was Acts 10 all about? Cornelius being converted, man. So you had strivings, you had strife among the apostles, because Peter was given, it was given to Peter to teach the so-called Gentiles, which were Israelites. But the other apostles, they wasn't having it, man. So it had to be explained to them.
Con.
And part of the reason why you had Israelites that were called Gentiles, because of this account that I just read, about how 40,000 of them were sold into slavery, man. And there were more of them that were sold into slavery. There's an account where the Syrians under the Seleucid dynasty had enslaved Israelites and sold them into Egypt, man. And you had you had the Ptolemaic line. They were enslaving Israelites too. Because remember, we were scattered before the the situation with the Maccabees, man. So I mean, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of history, man. So read that again and keep reading.
This is the book of Acts 11:1. And the apostles and brethren that were in Judea heard that the Gentiles had also received the word of the Most High. And when Peter was come up to Jerusalem, they that were of the circumcision contended with him, saying, Thou wentest in to men uncircumcised, and didst eat with them. But Peter rehearsed the matter from the beginning, and expounded it by order unto them.
Who was these men that he went into uncircumcised and did eat with them? They were Israelites. They woke up to the fact that they were Israelites. Just like all of you, technically all of us are Gentiles on this side. Because our mothers didn't say, okay, you're an Israelite. You're the tribe of Levi. You're the tribe of this. But you got Israelites in America that said that they were Jews based on the so-called Jews. And that's why they don't go into the New Testament. So we are those Gentiles. We're Gentiles all over again, being converted to the truth.
Yeah.
What's the word convert means get. I mean, con means with, and vert means to get with the truth. All right? Virtue come from the word virtue, goodness, true, with truth. All right, go ahead.
It says, upon the which, what I'm saying. It says, and Peter rehearsed the matter, this is verse 4, but Peter rehearsed the matter from the beginning and expounded it by order unto them, saying, I was in the city of Joppa praying, and in a trance I saw a vision, a certain vessel descend, as it had been a great sheet let down from heaven by four corners, and it came even to me. Upon the which, when I had fastened mine eyes, I considered, and saw four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And I heard a voice saying unto me, Arise, Peter, slay and eat. But I said, Not so, Lord, for nothing common or unclean hath at any time entered into my mouth. But the voice answered me again from heaven, What the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common.
Yeah,
and this was done.
Yeah, if I may, I want to say those four-footed beasts, they represented the Israelites who were into those philosophies. And when the voice said to Peter, slay and eat, basically to teach them. And Peter was like, nah, I'm not teaching them. They're heathens. They're nothing but heathens. I'm not teaching them.
Because they weren't clean.
Because they weren't clean.
Excuse me. Verse 10. And this was done 3 times, and all were drawn up again into heaven. And behold, immediately there were 3 men already come unto the house where I was sent from Caesarea unto me.
Oh yeah, the brother read the 9th verse where it says, the voice answered me again, what the Most High have cleansed, that call not thou common. Because the Most High was getting ready to cleanse those Israelites that were in a Gentile state of mind.
Through the word which Peter was going to speak unto them.
Right, because Yahushua said to the 12, now you are clean through the word I have spoken unto you. That's in John the 17th chapter, the 3rd verse. So that extended to the Israelites that were scattered among the other nations. All right, that didn't dress like the Jews, that didn't keep the same customs that they kept. The truth was now extended to them. And then just like back then,
they were uncircumcised. They were eating pork.
Yep.
They were following the feast of the Romans or the Greeks, Bacchus, and so forth, Dionysus.
Yeah, and some of them, believe it or not, some of them didn't look like your typical Israelite, because they were scattered among the nations. Some of them were probably they probably looked like Edomites or Elamites or whatever nation that they were.
A lot of them looked just like Jakes.
Yep.
But they didn't look at them as Jakes, as being Jakes.
Right. You also had, yeah, that's true. And you also had ones that looked like the nations where they were scattered. And the other Jews had a problem with them. They said, "No, this guy don't look like an Israelite," just like you have now, just like you have today. Certain brothers are coming in by the Spirit because the Spirit draws us into this thing. And certain brothers are coming in by the Spirit, and you got a problem with the way they look. This guy, he don't look like an Israelite. This guy's he's very light-skinned. How do we know he's an Israelite? Well, you had the same problem back then. And Peter was dropped in the thick of it, and then later Paul was dropped in the thick of it.
No, Paul wasn't dropped in the thick of it. He just dealt with it.
Yeah, he did.
You know, he just
was
dealt
right
with
up
it
at the
because that's because Paul took it upon himself. That's in Acts.
Come on.
Was that Acts 13:43, if I'm not mistaken, or
Come
around there? Because he cursed Peter out. He said, "Look, it was given you, but hey, I'm going to teach."
Yeah,
these
that's
people."
right. That's right.
You know.
That's right. Hey, well, the Most High told Ananias, he said, "Look, go your way, because this man's a chosen vessel unto me to bear my name before who? The Israelites scattered among the Gentiles." Right. And then Paul, and it was Paul and Barnabas that he cursed out the Jews. He said, "Look, we brought the word to you. You didn't want to accept it. Right. Well, Lord, we're going to go to the Israelite foreigners." Yep.
Acts chapter 13.
Come.
Acts chapter 13. Wow. I started 38. Be it known unto you, therefore, men and brethren. Come. To this man is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins. And by him all that believe are justified from all things from which you could not be justified by the law of Moses. Beware therefore lest that come upon you which is spoken of in the prophets. Behold, ye despisers, and wonder and perish. For I work a work in your days, a work which you shall in no wise believe, though a man declare it unto you.
Now, I'm sorry. That actual what Paul, the statement that he made was a quote from Habakkuk. So go to Habakkuk. I believe it's Habakkuk 2. I believe is it 1 and 4? It's either 1 and 4, 1 and 5, or 2 and 5. It might be 1.
1 and 5. Yep. Habakkuk 1 and 5. Behold, you among the heathen, and regard, and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days which you will not believe, though it be told you. And that was dealing with the Israelites being brought back from among the nations.
And it's not, and people don't believe it today. That's why you got guys out there saying that Cornelius is an Edomite.
Yeah.
You know, it's being told to you, but you're still not going to believe it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened back then. We're in the book of Acts all over again. Okay? These are the new Acts.
Hey, in the house of David, we told you. And you didn't want to.
Well, they didn't, but took him like 17 years to get it.
Yeah.
He didn't believe for like 15, 16, 17 years.
And the Lord worked the work in your day back then, that very day when that Cornelius thing came out. He worked the work in your day and you didn't believe it. You kicked us out of the school behind that.
And now you see it, man.
All right, Nate.
Hey, now this is come out of Paul's own mouth, right? And you're gonna continue to read out of Acts, Romans 11. Yeah, I'll start at 13. This is Paul speaking. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. Now, how did he become the apostle of the Gentiles? He's reading it right now in Acts 13. So who are the Gentiles right here that Paul's speaking about? He's talking about Israelite foreigners, man. Israelites that didn't know that they were Israelites, but now that they're coming to the fact that they're Israelites, just like we're doing today.
And if I may back up, Elder, and that goes back, everything has a genesis, okay? All right, and it goes back to when you had Antiochus enslaving our Israelite brothers, all right, and sisters, all right, enslaving them and forcing his God on them. So all these years later, they became like Romans. They became like the real Gentiles. And then Peter came to them, and then later Paul, and tried to convert them back to their nationality. It's just that simple, all right?
Yeah, Khan, that's right. That's right. You know, he wouldn't allow them to circumcise their children. He wouldn't allow them to keep the Sabbath. They had to eat pork.
Wasn't it?
Or they were put to death. That's
Wasn't
right.
there a penalty of death if they're circumcised.
Yeah, they one instance where the women circumcised their children, they hung the mother, and I believe they hung the child right on the mother.
There you go.
You know,
And that's why the Jews call them the uncircumcision.
and they knew that history.
Yeah, the other nations, it wasn't the circumcision wasn't for them. The circumcision was for the Israelites. But you had a group of Israelites that were forced into slavery. All right, and part of that being forced into slavery meant they could not circumcise, or they could not get circumcised.
And you got to remember that them Jews during the time of Yahushua, they were that history was very fresh from the Greek Empire. You know, it was fresh. It wasn't that old. It was only maybe a couple, maybe not even 200 years old.
I got something for you. This is from Wikipedia, entitled Antiochus IV Epiphanes. All right, and it says here, to consolidate his empire and strengthen his hold over the region, Antiochus decided to side with the Hellenized Jews. Those are the Israelites that became Hellenized, meaning they started following the ways of the Greeks, by outlawing Jewish religious rites and traditions. Those are our traditions, all right, kept by observant Jews, which goes back to the law. One of those traditions was circumcision, kept by observant Jews, and by ordering the worship of Zeus as the supreme god. So here you have Israelites starting to worship Zeus now. And some of you Israelites, you're victims of that today. You worship a so-called white man as your god. He's known as Caesar Borgia. Right? Kept by observant Jews, and by ordering the worship of Zeus as the supreme god. And they even give you a scripture, 2 Maccabees 6, 1-12. This was an anathema to the Jews, and when they refused, Antiochus sent an army to enforce his decree. Because of the resistance, the city was destroyed, many were slaughtered, and a military Greek citadel called Acra was established. Yeah. Hey, well, it says, when the enemy shall approach you as a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall raise up an ensign against them. So that's going to happen again. That is the history of the so-called white man.
Then shall be known who am I chosen.
Then shall we know who am I chosen. Because earlier Elder Tahar made a statement, which is true. He said, a lot of you guys in GMS, I don't like Great Millstone. A lot of you guys in Great Millstone, you're going to take that chip, man.
Yeah, a lot of you guys are weak, man. A lot of you guys are getting disenchanted. You know, a lot of you guys are going through the motions. And then there's a lot of third titties out there, man. And if you don't get with the program, man, Most High gonna push you out the door, man. You know? Hey, because you know what my job, I was thinking the other day about what my job is, because I'm thinking about Nate, because he's going out trying to establish this and break ground over there and build a building. That's not our job. Our job is to use whatever vehicle like YouTube and other sites and so forth, and going out in the highways and byways and teaching the truth, man.
Push this word, yeah.
That's it. And in the hopes that others may listen and become teachers, man.
Yeah.
Our job is not to build monuments and, wear sequin garments and do catons and all that, man.
Yeah.
That's all well and good if you do that. Hey, but that's not our job, man. You don't got to put extra seasoning on it, all right?
That's right.
Our job is what we're doing. That's what you're supposed to do, man. Okay? Well, we're trying to say I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to go back to work for, be a consultant for Pepsi Cola so I can come back and I can build a school. No, just teach, man. You don't need a lot of money to teach. You guys are full of shit, man. You guys are full of shit.
That's right.
Anyway, I'm going to read this here. This is Acts 10:28. It says, and he said unto them, ye know, and I want you to go to the blue letter on this, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High have showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Now he was talking about, he was talking to Cornelius, which Cornelius probably had to be a dark skinned man, could have been a medium brown man. All right, he had to me he had the looks of an Israelite. We got an icon on it. But anyway, but the way he was uncircumcised. All right, and then he probably did get circumcised since he heard about the truth. But he was still dressed. He still had his Roman, his Gentile ways. But he wanted that truth. Okay? That's why Paul said in Colossians, let no man judge you on meats, drinks, respect of a Sabbath day. All right? Which is the new moons, which is a shadow of things to come. Meaning the shadow of things to come is talking about the kingdom. Because right now, a guy that back then, you had the circumcision, which were the Jews, Judeans, or Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that kept all those high holy days, whose parents circumcised them on the 8th day according to the law. Who were, so what they call bar mitzvah, became a man at the age of 12. A woman became a woman at the age of 12. Okay? So they kept all those customs. They didn't eat pork and other unclean things, and they were under the covenant. All right? A bar mitzvah is a man that's under the covenant. He comes up under the law. So if he's 12 years old and he breaks a law unto death, he's going to be put to death. Oh, but he's a 12-year-old kid. He should have got it. He should have got it. Okay? So we had all those laws correctly. The garments that we wore, the fringes, the phylacteries, the high holy days, the civil laws, the moral laws, the dietary laws, and so forth. The ceremonial laws, the burial laws, the laws of giving birth, our language, which is part of our culture, right? Which Cornelius didn't have. He might have had some aspects of it, but he still had that Gentile look to him. Okay? Now, when you look up the word nation, look up the word nation. I don't know if it's right in there or you got to go to the root. And the word nation really means tribe. Go to nation. Go to nation. Click on nation.
Yeah, they have the Greek word there, alophilos.
So click on it.
All right. I was looking at it. There's two root words.
But what does the word say right there?
Foreign. It says foreign.
Foreign. That only says so much. That only goes so far.
Right.
Go ahead now. Click on the root word, Ak. You should have two root words.
Yep. Alos, which is another or other.
Go to the other.
That's the first word.
Another. Go to the other word.
And the other word is.
It's going to be. Go ahead.
Is a fula.
And what does it mean?
Tribe.
It means tribe.
Another tribe.
So it's talking about an Israelite outside of. Because when the split came, when you go back into the history of the splitting of the kingdom of the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel, they looked at the kingdom of Judah looked at the kingdom of Israel as they ain't even Israelites no more.
Right. So
that's how Peter and them looked at Cornelius.
That's right.
Now he could have been a Judite that was sold into slavery, or great grandparents were sold into slavery at the hands of Antiochus, either the Antiochus, namely Antiochus Epiphanes, or the fourth, and he was sold into slavery and was raised up in the Greekish fashion, the Greekish customs, man. And there were Israelites that were in Jerusalem when Antiochus Epiphanes put out the order to not circumcise your kids, don't speak Hebrew, speak Greek, be involved in the Hellenizing of your people. And you had some that revolted against it, but you had many that were for it. They said, look, and they gave them a license to be, license to do that wickedness, man.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have generations of children that are taught these. The children gonna grow up not being circumcised, eating pork, eating whatever.
That's right.
So you had Israelites back there that had children Timothy was a good example.
Good
His
example.
father was a stone cold Greek, which meant he was an Israelite that was part of that Greek philosophy. He was staunchly into that, but his son wasn't. All right, go ahead.
This is Hosea 8:8. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
Yeah.
What's that scripture again?
Hosea 8:8.
Read again.
Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
No pleasure.
That's right.
Yeah, and the Jews in Jerusalem, they took no pleasure in the Israelites that was scattered outside of Jerusalem. They took no pleasure in them.
That's right.
You know, the way they dressed, and for some, even the way they looked. It reminds me of an incident where Paul was going into the temple, and I think he had Trophimus with him.
I forget who.
Trophimus, he had a couple of brothers with him.
Yep.
And the Jews went, look at this guy, he bringing in heathens in the temple. Look at it. Look.
Yep.
You know, it's the same thing now. You know?
That's right.
And the same thing is happening now. You know, you say that Great Millstone, we're bringing in heathens into this thing of ours.
First of all, we're not bringing anybody into this thing. It's
Yeah,
the
we
Lord.
don't- that's first and foremost. We don't bring anybody
That's
into it. The Spirit brings you into this truth, man.
And if you're a real heathen, you're gonna be weeded out of this thing any damn way.
Exactly.
You know, and
Exactly.
if you're not of the elect, we keep saying it. The Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, is only dealing with the elect, man. It ain't a numbers game.
This is Hosea chapter 9, verse 16. Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up. They shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. My power will cast them away, because they did not hearken unto him. And they shall be wanderers among the nations.
That's beautiful, brother. Hey, I got a scripture. This is Romans 8:11. Because you saying that you guys are bringing in Edomites into this thing, and you're bringing in this guy and that guy. This is Romans 8:11. It says, but if the spirit of him that raiseth up Yahushai from the dead, who's that? That's Yahweh. Dwell in you, he that raiseth up Yahushai from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by by his spirit that dwelleth in you. So this thing is totally spiritual, man. The Spirit draws you into this thing. We don't bring any, and we always tell you we can't save you.
That's right.
Beginning from elder to on down, we cannot save you. We're trying to save ourselves, man. That's why the scriptures say, give diligence to make your call and election sure. We're not sitting back here like we could save anybody that comes to GMS, we can save you. We can't save you, man. All right? And the Spirit draws you into this thing. The Spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai draws you into this thing.
The
same.
words.
That's right.
The
The same Spirit that raised up Yahushai from the grave.
That's right.
All right? And when you come to it, you learn about Yahushai, because Yahushai said, no man can come to my Father but through me. So you learn about Yahushai. You learn about what he looked like. You learn about his true character. All right? You start learning about Yahushai. And in the course of that, you start learning about yourself. That you're really not whatever you thought you were. You learn that you're a Hebrew Israelite from whatever respective tribe.
That's right.
All right? That's it.
Yep. And that was that whole thing, like Elder Gabar was saying, goes back, that was happening back then. Now you had the Jews, they called Yahushua a Samaritan. They basically called him a heathen, but they wasn't really calling him like a heathen of another nation. What it was, see, when you know that when you research the history, you have what was called apostate Jews among the Samaritans that would run to Samaria for refuge among them, because there was a community of them, actual Samaritan heathens, that were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, even though they were going off. So they welcomed the apostate Jews, as they would call them, that were fleeing into Samaria to flee from being judged of the law of Israel. And that's what they called Yahushua a Samaritan. Why? Because they were referring to those people that were among the Samaritans, that were Israelites, that were mingled with those heathens. So you have to know the history of what was going on back then.
Yeah, and Yahushua said that you insult me. He said that. He made that statement. He said, you do dishonor me. Not only did they call him a Samaritan, they call him the devil.
Yep.
They said, say we not that you are mad, you're a Samaritan, you have the devil in you. And then Yahushua said, you're insulting me. You're dishonoring me.
And that, like I said, that history was very well known back then. Okay. Now I got another precept to prove that. I have another precept to prove that. Here we go. This is St. John 7:32. The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. Then said Yahushua unto them, Yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. You shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Now when you go into the Greek, the word there is Helen or Hellenin. So he said, will he go to the dispersed among the Hellenin? Who were the dispersed? The Israelites among those Greeks, those Greek people, and teach the Gentiles or the Hellenin. In other words, they were talking about the Israelites that were speaking Greek.
Yeah, that's why you got to understand that Greek. You have to understand the Hebrew. There's a difference between the word Hellenin and Hellenistas. There's a big difference. Like if you go to what is that? Acts the 6th chapter, it tells you about the Grecians' widows. And when you look the word up, well, if you go into the New Testament, you're going to come across a word. You're going to come across the word Greek, if I'm not mistaken, and you're going to come across the word Grecian. There's a reason why you come across the word Grecian, and other times in the scriptures you come across the word Greek. A case in point, as I mentioned earlier, if you go to Acts the 16th chapter, it speaks about Timothy's father, and it said, I think the word was Greek, but in Acts the 6th chapter, the word there is Grecian. So when you look the word up, the word Grecian is the Greek word Hellenistas, and the word Greek is Hellenin. The difference between a Hellenistas and a Hellenin, a Hellenistas was an Israelite who knew that he was an Israelite that was raised up outside of Jerusalem. Most likely Greek. So they had certain Greek customs. They spoke fluent Greek, and they might have spoke broken Hebrew. Okay? So, I mean, if you really want to get deep, you got to go in the scriptures. That's why you got guys that are out there like Baloo. He says, he doesn't say, I'm going to prove to you that Cornelius is an Edomite. He'll say, well, I don't believe Cornelius is an Israelite. Well, it ain't what the scriptures say, prove all things. We ain't dealing with what you believe in, nigga. All right? Anyway.
Or if some did not believe.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect?
The hell with you and your belief, man.
When they institute that chip and they're going to ask you, do we take the chip? He says, I believe you can eat a potato chip. Well, that don't help the guy whether he got to take the chip or not. Oh, boy.
They're going to bring you to room 101, Baloo.
Yeah, put that rat right in your face. And it's going to shoot for your eyeballs. That's what the guy said. He said, this rat will shoot right to your eyeballs. That's in the movie 1984. You know?
Yeah, so now when you go back and you research and understand the history, now when you read the scriptures, they're more clear to you. You know, that gap is that stumbling block, so to speak, is moved out of the way for those of the elect.
Yeah, I looked up that word Samaritan. Now that's in the blue letter. They got the actual Samaritan. So they were insulting Yahushua. Yeah. They were straight up insulting him. They said, you're like you call us, you say we're of another nation. They did that to Yahushua. They said, this guy's a Samaritan. Plus he has the devil in him. Why are you listening to this man? And then Yahushua said, why are you dishonoring me? You know? So the same, they did it to Yahushua, they're going to do it to us too. And we expect that, man. See, some of you guys out there, you don't want to, you think that you're supposed to coast in this truth without being insulted, without being ridiculed, without being made fun of. They ridiculed and made fun of Yahushua. You know, and then Yahushua said, the servant is not greater than his master. If they have persecuted me, they shall persecute you also. So that's part of being in this truth, man. Persecution, to be ridiculed, to be made fun of, to be put names upon you, slandered. You know?
Yeah, right here, this is in Jeremiah 12 and 8 and 9. It says, mine heritage is unto me as a lion in the forest. It crieth out again, therefore have I have I hated it. Now, that's them niggas out there, them wild ass niggas, them stick up kids and climby ass niggas that you see every day in your local ghettos and shit. You know, when you go and try to teach these people, they come up against you. They bite against you, man, like lions, man. And the Most High said that's why I hate you. Jeremiah said it, but it's the Most High speaking through Jeremiah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that proves that we can hate you niggas, man.
That's them scoffers and scorners.
And we can hate you scoffers and scorners, man.
They're coming at us.
And we can drink to your downfall too.
That's right. What you gonna do?
That's right.
Oh man, these scriptures are jumping to life, man.
Same chapter 9 verse. It said, my heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Mm-hmm. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour. All right. So the ones of us that woken up, that are truly woken up, these guys want to put their hands on us, man.
They want to kill us.
Especially fucking Isaiah.
Yeah. That dude,
baby dinosaur. He went back into that UFC demon. Look, I'll come up to you, man. I'll kick your ass and I'll do this, man. Nigga, go back to the UFC, man. So you gonna let some fucking steam off, nigga. Yeah. You know,
let up some steam.
Set your ass is so bad, man.
Yeah,
go up in the ranks and fight John Jones, man.
There you go.
Cause I'll pay for that, man. I'll pay for that, brother. You know. And if you can beat John Jones, you know what that means? That Satan was in there with you, brother.
That's it.
Satan was in your corner.
That's it.
Hey, but anyway, going back to this, right? It mentions the word speckled bird, right? The word speckled, and I got it right here in the it really don't say much. It don't say what I want it. It don't go deep. But anyway, if you go into the word speckled, right, and you got your mic thing on, right? You got it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you
that word is bad.
Yeah, the word in the Hebrew is, I'm sorry, I said Greek. I meant the Hebrew. The word there is tazabawai. And the word means colored, variegated, speckled. All right? Then you can also go into the root of that word, which the word there is tazabai, which means dyed, stuff, something dyed, colored clothes. So you got Israelites of many different colors. Ooh. You got Israelites that look like Bruce Lee. Ooh. You got a lot of Israelites out there that look like Moabites, man.
That's it.
You got a lot of Israelites out there that look like Edomites.
That's it.
You got a lot of Israelites out there that look like East Indians or Arabs.
That's it.
You got a lot of Israelites that looked and even act like Hamites.
That's it. Yeah.
So when you guys say we letting heathens in, the people that are coming in, they're coming in through the Spirit. If they're an actual heathen, an actual of another nation, guess what? They're going to be weeded out, man.
They're going to be weeded out.
They're going to be weeded out.
That's
okay?
Right. Yeah, this thing is totally spiritual.
I got a quick precept.
Yep.
This is Ecclesiasticus 11:2. Commend not a man for his beauty, neither abhor a man for his outward appearance.
That's a cut. And they were doing that in the days of Paul. They were doing that, man. You know, they had certain Israelites that came into the faith, and the Jews had a problem with them just by the way they looked, just by the way the guy looks. They had a problem with the guy. And you have that now. You got certain Israelites in the truth now. Some of them look like so-called white people, and you got certain guys that got a problem with them. You know? No, even starting with Elder Tahar. Look, he's light-skinned. He can't be an Israelite. He's too light-skinned. Well, that cut the...
You know what my response to that is? I'm an Israelite, all right?
There you go. There you go. And even Yahweh Shai, we just gave you the example of they called Yahweh Shai a Samaritan. How about that? They called the man a Samaritan. Was he a Samaritan? This man was of the line of kings, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and they're going to call him a Samaritan. That's why Yahweh Shai got mad and he said, you do dishonor me, but I honor my father, and you dishonor me. Yeah, I got a scripture for them guys who who want, because basically these guys out there, they're not just scoffers and scorners. Literally, they want to kill us. And if they could, they would. And I got news for you. Back in the past, they did. Some of them same spirits are the ones that killed the prophets back then. That's why Yahushua said, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets." That's you, motherfuckers. All right? This is Psalm 35:3. It says, draw out also the spear, and stop the way against them that persecute me. Say unto my soul, I am thy salvation. Let them be confounded and put to shame that seek after my soul. Let them be turned back and brought to confusion that devise my hurt. Let them be as chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord chase them. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of the Lord persecute them. That's for you guys that devise our hurt, all right? You know who you are. For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit. Like, I'm going to give an example, like Isaiah and Mike Jina. We never did nothing to them guys. We never had no problem with them guys. All of a sudden, for no reason, which we understand what the reason is, they really hate Yahweh Shai. All of a sudden, they hate us. But it's not us they hate, it's Yahweh Shai that they hate. That's being formed in us. All right? For without cause have they hid for me their net in a pit, which without cause they have digged for my soul. Let destruction come upon him at unawares. So when you niggas least expect it, man, the Most High is going to zap your ass. Let destruction come upon him at unawares, and let his net that he have hid catch himself. Into that very destruction let him fall. And my soul shall be joyful in the Lord, it shall rejoice in his salvation. You know, that's it.
So with that, we're going to close, and I'll catch us on the next go-round. Shalom.